Here we go. This is TJ Tijani, the Rentrepreneur, and don't mind the chill mode. Because did you know that I work maybe 2 hours a week in my short-term rental business? Well, in this video, I'm gonna show you how you can implement certain strategies so you can do the same exact thing. Here we go. So we're talking about how to make short-term rentals truly passive. When we're talking about passive, is it truly passive all the way? No, not necessarily. Because the truth is that you're gonna wear a lot of hats, especially at the beginning of your journey. The goal is to make that transition from working in your business to working on your business. Here we go. So good business ownership is all about delegation. And you'll find it really don't matter what business you're in, you have to be able to delegate. So a good entrepreneur doesn't necessarily work in their business, they work on their business. While not afraid of work, good leaders know how to put teams and structure in place to make sure that the machine runs smoothly. When I first got started into the short-term rental business, I was a traditional rental investor, a long-term buy and hold investor. And getting into the short-term rental business, one of the biggest hurdles that I couldn't get around my mind wrapped around is the fact that, okay, short-term rental business is more involved. And because of that, and it affected me too, a lot of folks might be like, well, it's a lot more involved. It's maybe not worth it. Yes, you can make more money, but then I learned that, okay, if I can build a team and systems around all the involvement per se, and still take advantage of the additional cash flow, then why not run that play? So first thing you gotta understand is that you have to start building your team. Whether you have one rental property or 100, assembling a small team will make sure your time is not lost in the business. In the building process, it's also important to know when to add each piece of team member or each piece of technology. And when you build the team, your team is actually gonna be separated into two groups. In the short-term rental game, you're gonna have your field team and then you're gonna have your technology team. And the great thing is that Airbnb, this entire industry that makes it available for all of us, this was birthed at the age of technology. So technology is literally our best friend in this business model. But one of the things that's very important is understanding not only that you need to bring in each piece of team member or that technology, is when to actually bring in that team member or that additional piece of technology. So number 2 is automation. And understand, when we talk about automation, yes, delegation is important and team building is important, but when we talk about automation, we're talking about leveraging technology to literally make our business a whole lot easier. So one of the biggest things that you will have to leverage and you will have to make sure that you get down right is your calendar synchronization. Because the goal is to have multiple eyes on your listing. The goal is to have, matter of fact, as many eyes on your listing as possible. And with that requires you to be on many different platforms. Well, in order for you to be on many different platforms, you want to make sure that those calendars are succinct. That way, if somebody books it on Airbnb or books it on your direct booking website or on booking.com, those same dates are blocked off on every other site. So I highly recommend looking into a PMS, which is a property management software. Some people also refer to it as channel manager. Look into a channel manager. Look into the various ones that they are, because understand that each have their own personalities. They each could be offer different services. Some come with a direct booking website. Things of that nature. You want to make sure that you do the research, but definitely tap into a PMS system even at the very beginning of your journey. Now, there are 2 very key things that you can do at the very beginning of your short-term rental journey to literally save you at least 70% of your time at the very beginning. And these are 2 things we're going to focus on right here. The dynamic pricing, as well as your concierge service, which you also consider just guest communication. So because understand, these OTAs, they love to incentivize you based on how fluctuating your prices are. If you have stagnant prices throughout your listing, then to them, that kind of speaks that you're not an attentive host. Like you're just setting a price on, you're not really caring about your entire listing. But if your prices fluctuate and they're dynamic, these OTAs will view you as an attentive host. So you want to make sure your pricing is dynamic, but you can do that manually, which is way too time consuming, or you can tap into a dynamic pricing system or a dynamic pricing software. We love using Price Labs in our business. So you can check out Price Labs and Wheelhouse or Beyond Pricing, which are my top 3 recommendations. We love leveraging Price Labs. We've been using Price Labs from the very beginning. They have an amazing dynamic pricing feature and also have some great market analysis technology as well, and a system that you can use for your business as well. So the second part is your guest communication. Understand, one of the most time-consuming things that you will do in your business is having to respond back to every guest that taps in with you. Maybe they sent an inquiry, maybe they sent a booking request. You have to respond, because just like these OTAs love attentive hosts, they also love a responsive host. They incentivize you, give you an SEO boost because you're responsive. So you want to make sure that you include guest communication technology, because what this software does is it responds, and it responds to every single trigger, every inquiry, every request. It responds to them in an automated fashion, which keeps your response rate at 100%, which will make sure that you stay relevant on the platform. So number 3 is pretty much bringing it all together, implementing all these systems that we talked about. SOPs, standard operating procedures, are important to any business. We mentioned that earlier, right? Especially ones that can run with limited input from their owner. When a new booking is created, a team member and software should work together automatically for tasks to be completed on the appropriate timeline. And that's key, because from the point of somebody even inquiring about your listing to the point that they book it, all the way to getting them checked out and getting the property turned over and getting them to rebook with you again, right? That all requires a nice system. That requires a nice marriage between your field team and your technology team. They all have to be talking to each other cohesively. And when you have that cohesive communication, this is what can make your business run on autopilot. So ultimately, we talked a lot about building systems and automation, right? But let's not forget the focus on why we're even doing all that in the first place. It's to create time freedom. You should literally be competing with your free time. Every time you do an assessment in your short-term rental business, you should be assessing, what can I do? What can I outsource? What else can I introduce into my business model to free up more of my time? Financial freedom doesn't exist unless an individual also has freedom of their time. Business owners are jealous with their time, and after establishing their systems, are able to reap the benefits of the hard work needed to get there. So at the end of the day, the goal is time freedom. And that's the goal. Now, in the beginning, we mentioned this earlier, it's okay to wear a lot of hats in the very beginning, and that's okay, and you will. And that also gives you a chance to really learn your business. That also gives you a chance to really get ingrained in your business. That way, when you start delegating, when you start outsourcing, you're gonna know exactly what to do. And when you start putting those steps together to bring in team members, add technology pieces, it will be a very seamless process, because now you know so much about your business. So it's okay to work in your business, but the goal is to make that transition to working on your business as an entrepreneur. This way, you must sort of puppet master, making sure that your team is set up for success. So we talked a lot about how to automate, how to delegate, how to add systems so you can make your business as passive as possible. Remember, I work about 2 hours a week in my short-term rental business, handling all of our entire portfolio. So if you like this video, you saw value in this video, go ahead and do me a huge favor and like it, subscribe, and do yourself a favor and check out this next video.